It's who I am. Loving you is not a choice, and not much reason to rejoice. But it gives me purpose, gives me voice to say to the world, this is why I live. You are why I live. Loving you is why I do the things I do. Loving you is not in my control. But loving you, I have a goal for what's left of my life. I will live and I would die for you.
One. Let me tell you something, Will. I think it was, I want to get the actual date. It would have, so it was Tuesday, the 11th of January. So it wasn't this January. It wasn't last January. It would have been the January before that. So
Yeah.
Is that technically 3 years or 2 years?
Not this
2
January.
years.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah. Nearly 2.5 years ago, we recorded our first Sondheim episode, which was...
Really?
Yeah. And then the cruise ship came up, and then that threw everything into, and then work life and everything. We're nearly done. This is our penultimate Sondheim, and it is our last show. Now, we are not delving into two addendums. We're not delving into the mess that is Roadshow and Bounce, and there's lots of great music in there, but it's very hard to do an episode. I mean, it could be actually a very interesting episode in many ways. But anyway, and we're also not doing an episode on Here We Are, which we will be getting a recording of, I believe, by the time this is out, but I don't know. And I was going to say that the reason for that is that we'll have literally, I mean, maybe we can, I don't know. We'll see what our initial reactions is. But I was going to say that we haven't had much time. Whereas with musicals like Passion or Pacific Overtures, you have had the same amount of time as we would have had with Here We Are. So, which leads us to the fact that our final musical, which came out in 1990, was it 1990? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 1994. Sorry, 1994.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he hasn't done.
That was a really poor recording then. Very dated original production.
What? Do you think that looks worse than the Sunday in the Park?
Yeah.
I guess it does, yeah. We're doing Passion, which is the 1994 final collaboration of Sondheim and James Lapine. And yes, is in so many ways the final Sondheim show, depending on how you class Roadshow / Bounce, where you put the frogs in the chronology. And obviously now we've got Here We Are, and whether you see that as a finished piece or not.
I have a question.
Shoot.
And you may have just answered it. What was he doing between Passion and when he died?
Well,
did he just stop writing?
No. There was Roadshow / Bounce, which began as it either did it begin as Bounce or did it begin as Roadshow? I think it began as Roadshow and then got changed so much that they renamed it Bounce. And Sam Mendes was involved and John Doyle was involved. Huge like flop show that never really got its footing. We should have really done an episode on it and looked into the timeline, but that's another matter. So that was that. And then, well, you know what he's been doing, like handling a lot of these, revivals and working here and there on a couple of projects that never really got off. Yeah.
He got a couple of films out.
Well, yes, he had a big hand in both of the films, and that's 2007 and that's 2014. And then it goes without saying that, he died at what, 93? So, he's an older man. And I mean, again, whether you look at Here We Are as a finished musical or not, the fact that we got that at all when we get it, and by all means, it's been quite critically acclaimed. It is a musical in two halves, in that the first act is all music, then there is an opening number, and then the second act is mostly a play, which does lead me to believe that was not a choice. But as we've talked about before, that was also how it was. I remember reading about it years ago when he was still alive, about how it was originally conceived possibly as a one-act musical and then a one-act play. But anyway, today we're talking about Passion. Now, you love Lapine. Had you ever ventured into Passion before, or heard of Passion, or
I had heard of Passion because I remember seeing the what's she called, Ruthie Henshaw trailer on Facebook, where she was sat in a dressing room putting some lipstick on, and then it went Passion.
That was at a production at the Meniere Chocolate Factory, which I've been to, which is a beautiful, very small theatre. And you could make the argument, I mean, we're jumping straight to revivals, but you could make the argument that Passion is most suited to a small, intimate theatre. This is an incredibly intimate story that does have like a kind of sneaky large ensemble cast of men and soldiers. But, I mean, John Doyle, when he first watched it in London, I mean, he went on to direct multiple productions of Passion and now likes it. But he was like, I just don't know why they didn't rewrite the soldiers and just write it for three people. And obviously, that is obviously what John Doyle's going to say.
Yeah. And they've all got to play the tuba.
He didn't do that. No, I've changed my mind on John Doyle.
I know.
Because I've listened to a lot of interviews and he's just a lovely, lovely elderly British gay man. And he was, what's the line? I've got it here. He makes a joke about the tuba. Classic Stage Company actually asked John Doyle about putting a show on, and he said, I think they wanted about where to put the band, because John Doyle wanted the band off stage. And that wasn't something that was really done at Classic Stage Company due to the limitations of the stage. And he said, I think they probably thought I was going to do one of those John Doyle things where everybody carries around a tuba. And I said, I don't want to do those all the time. So I think he does have a humility about it, at least.
Yeah.
So Passion is an incredibly strange piece, an incredibly dark piece, like an hour 40, really, when you like cut out the end credits and that sort of thing. It's no interval, it just moves. There are scenes, but it's mostly sung through. And it is this, it's not even, I mean, it is a love triangle, but not really.
It's the lady that he's originally in bed with.
Yes.
That she has a husband, as I gathered. So
yes,
it's a love square.
It's a love square, but the husband's like not even involved in any way, shape, or form, and is way off, and she doesn't love him anymore. But she won't leave him for Giorgio because of her child, and it's a different time. So it's based off a novel by Igneo Ugo Tarchetti, which was alleged, like a fictional recounting of an affair that he had with an epileptic, where he contracted TB and died before finishing the book, and so it was later finished by a friend.
Right.
Interesting, which is made into a film named Passione d'Amore by Ruggero Macari e Tori Scala. And Sondheim sees that in the 1980s and says, I think this could be a musical. and
Fair enough.
There you go. And
that's great, Steve. I'm lovely. That's nice.
So we're thinking maybe another Into the Woods. It was a huge hit, huge box office hit, and maybe something else that has broad appeal. Okay, I want to make an hour, an interval-less one-act dark romance about a woman with an undiagnosed disease finally being able to have sex. So he went to Lapine, and it was originally conceived that they were going to work on 2 one-act musicals. One on a piece called Muscle, which was about a bodybuilder that Lapine brought to Sondheim, and then the other one, which was going to be Passione d'Amore. Eventually, they put Muscle to the side and made this longer, and then it did the sort of tryouts, but it was almost an immediate West End, Broadway opening, and it's the show that we get. What was your first reaction, Will, to Passion?
Very nice music. I'm going to jump the gun very quickly and say, I thought, and I kind of wish it had have been. So when he's speaking to her father and he explains why she's this way or because of her previous heartbreak, you know that scene.
The flashback it's not her father, it's her cousin. It's her cousin.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, it was a cousin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the man who came and they fell in love.
Oh, yes.
I thought it was going to be Monkey's Paw.
Sorry, excuse me. So you thought it was going to be the Monkey's Paw? Say that again. So she made a wish to have a lover.
Yeah. Oh, this guy comes along. He's from out of town. All of a sudden, he appears and he's living in their house, and they have sex, and it's like Monkey's Paw, and she has to have sex with this guy.
Count Ludovic of Austria.
Yeah, I thought it was Monkey's Paw.
No, it's just a woman who dies of an undiagnosable disease.
The monkey's testicles.
I guess you could see it as a twist. No, not a twist, but like a sort of she's pining for love. She's incredibly ugly. She gets taken advantage of by this man, and you'd think actually that after being taken advantage of by Count Ludovic of Austria, that she would be more stone-faced and not be so. Well, I guess she's not accepting of Giorgio. Giorgio is nice to her, but she's the one who follows after him, and she's the one who's obsessed with him. So Sondheim. So this is interesting. Is that obviously there is so much romance and love and dark romance in those Sondheim shows before this, but Sondheim said openly that he never knew true love before he turned 60, and he turned 60 in 1990. And so this is like very easily pointed to as the musical that he wrote now that he knew what love was. And the whole show is people saying love isn't this, love is this. And the cornerstone of the whole show is that beautiful song Loving You. And we open with this triumphant 5 minutes of just rolling around in bed, happiness. This is pure joy. And
do you think they had an intimacy coach?
Well, you watched the recording, of course, but what you don't know is that in the actual production, did you watch some behind the scenes stuff?
No.
Yeah, no, they were both fully nude. Well, not fully nude, but Marin Mazzi was.
They wasn't even. It was the mid-90s.
It was the mid-90s, but no, Marin Mazzi had them out, for lack of a better way to say it, and they were both wearing those sort of nude thongs. And that it was this immediate, wow, real naked romance, and I think it's an effective choice. Lots of productions don't do that. But Marion Mazzy was fully up for it, and she what? Oh God, quote. We'll get to a quote from Marion later. The wonderful Marion Mazzy, who we'll see again in our final episode as we look at celebrations of Sondheim. Such a tragedy. She died of cancer, and just such a talent lost. And you look at this, and then you look at that celebrations of Sondheim, where she does, for me, maybe second to Imelda, the version of Losing My Mind. And she's a great talent. And Cherry Shea, and we'll meet Donna Murphy later. So this is Sondheim on creating the show. As Fosca started to speak and the camera cut back to her, I had my epiphany. I realized that the story was not about how she is going to fall in love with him, but about how he is going to fall in love with her. At the same time thinking, they're never going to convince me of that. They're never going to pull that off, talking about the film. All the while knowing that they would. That Scala wouldn't have taken on such a ripely melodramatic story unless he was convinced that he could make it plausible. By the end of the movie, the unwritten songs in my head were brimming, and I was certain of two things. First, I wanted to make it into a musical, the problem being that it couldn't be a musical, not even in a traditional sense, non-traditional sense, because the characters were so outsized. Second, I wanted James Lapine to write it. He was a romantic, and he had a feel for different centuries and different cultures, and he was enthusiastically attracted to weirdness. Lapine wasn't a fan of the film when we watched it, but he did love the book, and they ordered a translation by an academic professor. And originally, it was one of those Charles Dickens things where it came out a chapter a week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's an epistolary novel written entirely in letters. And Sondheim said that an evening of letter reading, especially sung letter reading, would hardly contribute to the joy of nations or dancing in the aisles. But of course, such challenges only whet a writer's appetite. So that clearly appealed to him. And there are scenes and there are other songs, but for the most part, it is people reading letters, people writing letters, people asking people to write letters for them.
Yeah.
And yes, so this is something to talk about, Will. The original production was largely plagued, for the most part, by a sincere hatred of Fosca. The show just wasn't landing at all. People were laughing, people were jeering, people were screaming, "Die, Fosca, die!" And it just was not well received by audiences. During previews, people would applaud when Fosca had a meltdown or fell down. In one performance, someone from the balcony yelled, "Die, Fosca, die!" So, were you repelled by the character of Fosca, or did you see that loneliness and that yearning in there? Did you believe the dark romance?
Oh, I thought she was properly annoying.
Is this one of those facts that I tell you and now you feel incredibly relieved?
I'll be honest. I when you said Sondheim finally realized what love is, I don't think he did.
This is what a lot of people say.
Because I feel like in the end he goes, oh, go on then, and he's not into it. And
well, the big thing is that he goes to Clara and says, "Oh, I now know what love is, Clara. Undying love. Leave your husband for me." And she says, "No, we have to wait because if I'll lose my child, like they'll take my child away from me. We're in 1800s Italy." And he's like, "That's not love. Love is a constant demand." And now he's learned all the wrong lessons from, frankly, mad mental Fosca, and he's now taking them out on the woman who's been having an affair with. So yeah, yes, because he can't help but sneak through beautiful phrases and beautiful lyrics. But yes, it does feel like an hour and 40 of people saying, "This is what love is." And love is the most extreme that you possibly can do. And of course, we've both been in love. You are currently in love. And there is such great joy to extreme love and that plausibility of
extreme love.
Extreme love.
Look.
And that feeling of wanting to give your life for somebody and having that. Say that again.
Remember Sex Box? Was it called Sex Box?
The show that was two people are about to have sex in this box behind me. Yeah, Channel 4. For all of our American listener, the there was a British show that was literally called Sex Box, and it was on one of our TV programs, and it was a panel of sexperts who were like, the couple had sex, and then they came out and then talked about their sex that they just had. And this is what this is what we pay a TV license for in England. So we opened scene 1, Happiness. Did you like the song Happiness? I think it's rather great.
Yeah.
Clara and Giorgio, and we open, with rolling drums into a sort of musical orgasmic crescendo. This bang, bang, and I use the word orgasmic, Will, because that was Sondheim's plan.
Was it?
Yes. So his entire he planned. Oh, where's my line? Oh, here it is. Oh, I've lost it. Anyway, so he wanted the whole show. He wanted the show to start with Clara's orgasm and end with Fosca's. And then he realized that the duel had to happen after that, and then like the finale, and Fosca had to die. So he wanted to put into the music that and the way he talks about it is in the same tone as when he says, I wanted Into the Woods to start with to wake people up once upon a time, but except this time he's talking about a woman climaxing. And then you got, the orgasms is described in Lapine's stage directions. I've noted to read that. Here it is. Drums crescendo to a climax as Clara emits a soundless cry of orgasm, the orchestra substituting for her voice as the drums cease. I mean, just put that on my tombstone. So obviously with this production, with the filmed production, they couldn't do that because it was going to be on TV. But yes, no, this is very provocative theatre because the show does technically open with Mary Mazzie fully naked. For her part, Mazzie knows the one question the actress cast as Clara will hear for the rest of her career, getting asked about bearing her breasts on stage. And she said, being completely naked, and it was fun. It ended up being one of the most favourite things I've ever done. I found it very freeing. So they were fully naked in the original production, and they had to hide Mary Mazzie's mic pack in her wig. And they had to hide Jerry Shea's mic pack in the pillow. And then during some of the sex choreography, Mary Mazzie had to unplug it so that he could get off. I love the line, I wish we could have met so much sooner. I could have given you my youth, which feels in this moment as a sort of romantic line. But obviously, we come to learn we should have met you sooner before I married my husband. The Lapine. Right. Well, I guess we talk about this now. So Lapine didn't have a hand in the original London production, which starred Michael Ball, and also started with a fully naked love scene
with Michael Ball.
With Michael Ball. This is what I wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
And according to James Lapine, he said, well, they were doing it doggy style. So the curtain opens on Michael Ball, doggy style. And according to James Lapine, they changed it from Clara's orgasm to his. So you're there in 1996. The curtains open. You haven't seen Michael Ball on a West End stage for 5 years since Aspects of Love. And then the last time you've seen Michael Ball on stage, he goes, I'll never ever be the same. And then the curtain opens. And then Steve, I knew you'd find that funny. And then Stephen opens, and then Stephen comments, and he says, well, then the opening music should have been in the basses rather than the strings. Sondheim loves August Strindberg, and he says that he loves a playwright that gets right at your throats as soon as the curtain goes up. And I love to get the audience by the throat at the very beginning. And that's certainly a way to get them by the throat. So, yes. So, in so many ways, you'd think, unless you know the story or whatever you think, you've been to this play's called Passion. The poster, that beautiful original poster of the two sort of ghosts in the sheets almost, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a story about sex, about love, and you've just listened to 5 minutes of two very attractive people singing about happiness. It's not unreasonable to presume that you think that the show is about them. But no, then we get the transition with the soldiers, and they bring the table on for the first time, and Lapine, under his breath in the commentary, says, "That table was the bane of my existence." And then they bring on this incredible staircase set, because that was the big thing that in the film, that was the first moment when Fosca transcends the stairs that he really thought was important. When Fosca first transcended the stairs, descended rather, what was your impression? What did you think? Where did you think the story was going to go as it began to develop?
I got harrowing vibes.
You could like get the harrowing. Oh, I thought you meant the emotion. Because from an early point, it's not too outrageous to like imagine that this is going to be a sort of Fatal Attraction story, I guess, a sort of like horror musical.
I thought it at one point I was thinking supernatural, potentially like vampire, or she can never be seen, or she only could, I was thinking something like that.
Well, it is like Dracula when she first descends the staircase.
Yeah.
We get some great soldiers dialogue. You know, this veal, we've had veal for 4 days ago, and this looks like it was the same veal. And it's just
what's he called? You sound like I know he has a name, but the guy in Budapest who is in prison, and he's the
Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, that was Harvey Keitel.
He does sound like Harvey Keitel.
There was the opera guy. He loves opera.
He does love opera. I mean, there is a bit of. So John Doyle said he had no idea why they didn't cut the soldiers. And he watched the original London production. And to be frank, listening to the original London production, it's that thing of where everyone's got a different British accent. And there is like a northern one, and there's the northern guy who has the line, fellas dear, I'll make a wager by next week he'll be major. And I can understand why John Doyle hated it. And also, which is something obviously I didn't see much footage of it, but I was listening to the recording. I think they changed it from a pool table to a cards table because in one of the soldiers' gossip songs, which I presumed you loved every single one of them, they say something like bet 5 on the house, and it's like instead of the third pocket from the square. And you know, I like the soldiers in
Bingo.
Yeah.
Get your numbers ready.
Yeah. White rook to the corner. What else could they have been playing?
Cribbage.
Yeah, some dad's upstairs cards against humanity. And then
Buckaroo,
yeah, Kaplunk. So then we get the first sort of scene break where suddenly from nowhere Clara comes back on. It was this incredibly quick dress change for Marion Mazzy, and she comes on, and we begin reciting this letter. And Giorgio turns and he said, "Imagine that a soldier who cries," and we understand what the musical is going to be, and then we begin hearing about Fosca for 20 minutes. And it goes back to the old Michael Douglas adage that the best character you can ever play is somebody who doesn't show up for the first 20 minutes, everybody talks about for the first 20 minutes, and then somebody and who dies by the end. And again, we go in and out of this first scene with another letter. Giorgio, I too have cried, and all that. And I love the first screams of Fosca. And the fact that everybody else at the table is completely used to it.
Yeah.
You rolled your eyes. You hate Fosca. Okay.
Yeah, I do. We're out of the misery.
I don't know. Right. So I watched this and I watched the Patty. And I think there's something about Patty's sense of humor. Whereas Donna Murphy I think Donna Murphy's very good in the role, but she plays it incredibly sincere. And there are a few lines that Patty kind of does her dry, I think I love the castle because it's ruined. And they get laughs. Now, whether they should get laughs or not is a different question. But there is a sort of dry pain to Patty's Fosca that I did prefer. Whereas Donna Murphy's Fosca is, oh, grab my hand, Giorgio. And it is the same lines and it's the same music. But it's what you can bring to a character, I guess. But I do think Donna Murphy's very good, I have to say. But
she's very good in Spider-Man 2.
Who is she in Spider-Man 2?
She's Dr. Octavius's wife who gets killed.
Wow.
At the beginning with
yeah. Of course she
glass.
Is.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Great movie.
Great movie. And then we get another letter. I really think Lapine's staging is excellent. I think he's a wonderful director. I mean, that goes without saying.
Great transition. It's got to be, if you're telling everybody letters, everything needs to flow into each other rather than stop start. And I think he does a good job of that.
Yeah, I think it does feel like a very slick hour 40.
Yeah.
Whereas they added an interval in the London production.
That's about right.
Yeah. Get some.
We need a drink after an hour.
We need an ice cream.
It's £20. Go and get you and your sister an ice cream.
Yeah, imagine bringing two little girls to see Passion. Oh, it's the same man who made Into the Woods. Oh, here we go. The curtain's opening. Oh! Is that Michael Moore? Oh, that's going to last a while.
He loves it. He
does love it. Clara's beautiful blue dress set against that red backdrop. Because, like, looking at this versus Sunday or Into the Woods, like an incredibly simple staging in comparison. No less effective, but very simple. And Lapine noted that it had major influences by Mark Rothko, those deep red canvases that he would do. Are you a Rothko fan, Will?
I mean, I don't really know.
He just does reds. Have you seen the play Red with Alfred? Yeah, have you seen the play Red with Alfred Molina?
Oh, I have seen the play Red with Alfred. Oh, yeah. Shit, isn't it? It's really shit.
Leave Mark Rothko alone. And this is where we get the mysterious man, Tom Ulridge. Did you like the mysterious man showing up again?
I did. Yeah, I thought I was going to message you, but yeah, it is definitely him.
Yeah, it's Tom Ulridge, and it's and the sailor from Sunday in the Park with George is one of the soldiers as well.
Which one?
The ginger one.
I was making a joke. I'm on about the policeman. There's the man with the fake man attached to him in Sunday.
Oh no, that's the wolf.
Is it?
Yeah, you know that song.
Anyway,
do. Robert Greenberg.
You know that. You know that.
And then we get Tom Ulridge where he goes, "I'm afraid Fosca's physical state prevents her from being anybody's lover." And he says it, and he just does say, everything I hear sounds like the slatted spoon can't catch the potato. I'm afraid Fosca's physical state prevents her from being with any lover.
Meanwhile, Jack and his mother were.
Meanwhile, Clara was with her husband.
Maybe that's what it needs. That's what it was missing. A narrator. Once upon a time.
Star of stage and screen, Michael Ball was the fourth letter then, again, before Fosca becomes down. And Sondheim says that the ugliness allowed them to not worry about casting. And because he was said normally they're up against the wall of like, needing beautiful people. And so for the first time, he didn't have to worry about.
It's a controversial thing, especially in university theatre. That's why we've never done things like dog fights. Do you know Dogfight?
Yes, I know. Great show.
Yeah.
Great show. But surely who wouldn't want to do Dogfight and have those great lead roles?
Great, it's great. Yeah, but no, we can't. You can't cast someone as the ugly one.
Yeah, but Lily Taylor in the film is not.
I said we're not casting you because you're ugly.
Yeah, you're on a stage. Well, they did a lot of like the first. I'll take you through the makeup journey of Fosca because oh, sorry. Yeah. So we get Fosca's arrival. So it's a perfect time to talk about it. They started off with like huge makeup on her and like sunken face and sunken brows and like multiple warts one time they tried. And eventually, by the time that we get to the final, they just strip her hair back, give her a little bag under the eye and one mole, which I think is enough. Because you get the impression through the performance and all that.
Yeah, she just looked old, like an old woman.
This is another thing. Is this no? I don't. It can't be an old woman because it has to be a young woman whose life's been taken away from her, who feels
I think they should have taken a leaf out of Phantom's book. That sort of Phantom's book. Sorry.
Phantom's book,
as in like the disfigurement of the Phantom. I think it should be a physical disfigurement, not just that she's ugly.
No, but it's more than ugliness. She's dying, and she's been dying. She's she's been dying for years of like an unknown disease. It goes beyond its loneliness, its isolation. I don't think she's simply ugly. She's just terribly, terribly alone and is wasting away.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Lapine wanted to do a parody one day where Fosca falls down the stairs, but obviously I anyway, so they wanted about the casting about an ugly, and then Sondheim said, then who walks in and gives this knockout audition but one of the most beautiful women in the city, Donna Murphy, which is very nice. And sorry, that's another thing. They tried one performance with a bald cap, which would have been, I guess, even more interesting. And this is where we meet Fosca, and we'll be back after our first break to talk more about the character of Fosca with her first song, I Read, which, Will, I presume you loved. No, that's a firm shake of the head. So we stopped.
Have you just put lipstick on?
No, I knew this. I hope it wouldn't. No, I put I put Vaseline on my lips because I've been outside all day and they're chapped and they're very cold. I now look at the camera and do realize that it now look ridiculous, especially compared to previously when 5 minutes ago I did go get a drink. It wasn't that it wasn't that I didn't. I wasn't just specifically going to get Vaseline. Bunny. Right. We last ended when we were talking about the arrival of Fosca. I of course have grown to love Fosca, Will. I obviously I pine, and I do think that she's a rather well-drawn character. However, I completely understand how she can be rather easily hateable. Did you ever come to like Fosca, or did you always kind of dislike her?
No, she was fine. I think she got worse to me. I liked her at first. Who was intriguing to start with, right? Okay, what's going on here? And then when you found out what she was, what she was. Um, I was getting Caliban vibes off of her, I will say.
Caliban from
The
Hello.
Tempest.
Oh, not Halloween Town, the Disney movie.
No.
Which that just shows how much I dislike Shakespeare. Caliban
You would pick the Bible in Desert Island Discs, wouldn't you?
is oh, is that a choice? I thought you
Oh,
get both.
oh, do you? Oh, you do get both. But I
That
bet
would
you
be.
would say, I just want the Bible.
I just want the Bible. That would be an interesting
It
angle
would be,
for
wouldn't it?
Desert Islands to take. You can either choose the Bible or the complete works of Shakespeare. Do you choose God or art? Um, I yeah no I and there's only one thing that is worse than watching Shakespeare, and that is reading Shakespeare. Um,
Do you not like watching Shakespeare?
well, we've done this so many
We are,
times.
we are. I'll
Um,
take you to see Shakespeare one day.
no, you
Not
won't.
not at the Globe. It's shit at the Globe. I've been just for the tour. I will never go. I will never go and watch theatre at the Globe because it looks shit.
Closest I got, I nearly went and saw Mark Rylance as Iago.
Oh, I played Iago.
You did play Iago, yes. And what was that?
It's
What else was special about that production of Othello, Will?
I will like my production of Sister Act and Ghost. You
It was,
do the math
yeah,
and the
very
King
good.
out.
And the King and I, and small northern towns. It was a different
Did
time.
I tell you the so there was the what in Rotherham there was the Adult Society, the Children's Society. The kids did Les Mis,
Okay.
then Phantom, and
Yeah.
then Saigon.
Okay.
Nine to 18-year-olds doing Miss Saigon.
Hey, get that ass over here.
Just imagine the opening number. Oh,
Yeah.
please don't.
Yeah. Look, we had a great audience, lots more people than normal.
I bet the entire Rotherham turned up. Whoa.
To pick it. um, yes, so we get I Read, which is a beautiful song, and we get sickness is as normal to me as health is to you, and Donna Murphy says everything like this, and she says, "I came to thank you for the books. I've been so ill," and it is um not grating necessarily, but it is. She is a dislike. It is a dislikable character. It is kind of if Fatal Attraction ended with Michael Douglas getting with Glenn Close, and for us to look because I do love Alex Forrest. I do love Glenn Close, but there is something there of interesting. Um, so normally we rank the songs. Will, did you get a top three out of this or?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't rank the songs. So I just took it as it was.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. But we will be taking through three, and I guess I Read is a contender.
I know one I would like to take through is the big what am I gonna do number that he has near the end. You know that one?
I think it. Just give me that one more time. Oh, what am I gonna do? I got this crazy lady in my bed.
Yeah.
A beautiful song that she sings for 5 minutes, and we we come to sort of understand her character and her loneliness and her pain, and then she leaves, and then the first thing that Giorgio says is, "How can I describe her? The wretchedness, the horrendous." Which is, I mean, obviously we're going to have an arc with the musical, but it's very blunt.
Are we led to believe that for the characters, for them, she is a lot more ugly?
I've looked at many productions now, and none of them take it to a truly grotesque level. I think she is simply incredibly gaunt and ill.
This is what we need.
You think that, but the Phantom has well, he doesn't have redeeming qualities. He's a psychotic murderer.
Yeah, he's not a nice man.
Well, is this a gender bias? Because, I mean, obviously people like to do TikToks now about how the Phantom's awful. But obviously we've had decades of people being like, oh, the Phantom. And we, both of us, are, oh, the Phantom people. But is this a gender bias? Is there something to be said about why people aren't more, oh, Fosca? Or is it because this is more realistic and Phantom is a sort of heightened world?
Uh, um, I think it's easier to like Fosca because straight away you're thrown into a position of sympathy, whereas you're meant to fear the Phantom and he's mysterious, and
Yeah.
then the revelation of, oh dear, he's this freak that just wants love, and that's where the sympathy comes from.
Well,
That's my argument.
We don't really get many times where Fosca, like we get, we get her. Yeah. We don't get many, songs of Fosca saying, I've had a terrible life until we get Loving You.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everything kind of clicks because Sondheim can't help but write the most beautiful song you've ever heard. Loving You gives me a voice, and loving you gives me a choice for the rest of my life. I would live and I would die for you. And it's only a 2-minute song, but it is the song that became famous from the show. And it kind of goes against Sondheim's normal thing of making a song that could be a hit normally.
Yeah.
Because it is undescript. No, did you? I was listening to some Little Shop stuff the other day. Did you know that the studio for the film wanted to make it Suddenly Someone so that they could try and make it a big hit?
They could have picked a better name to start with.
Well, no, it would have fit.
Yeah.
Suddenly someone standing beside you. Oh,
No.
I love Little Shop.
You should have seen me in Little
I
Shop.
should have done. I couldn't have. I was at sea, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were. And clearly, most of the audience were as well.
Oh, don't be sad. Don't be sad. You'd be a very good Giorgio.
Thanks. You'd be a great Fosca.
I came to thank you for the books. Normally in these Sondheim episodes, I say, like, other than like, even with Sweeney, like I would give my right arm to be, like a woman or do a cabaret and be these great Sondheim women. But in this case, well, I would much rather play Giorgio, I have to say. Fosca isn't necessarily a fun role for me to play.
Not on the list of dream roles.
She's not. But I'm sure that she is. But there was a very funny TikTok of like the Sweeney Todd current cast, and they were like, it was just like, "What's your favorite Sondheim song?" And they were passing around, and one of them said, "I read," and then like there were a couple people in the shot who went, "Yeah, sure," which I found very funny. Where are we? Oh, the wretchedness. Oh, the horridness. And then we get this garden sequence, which is where we kind of get the first glimpse of Fosca's love. And the whole time, Giorgio is singing to the audience, relaying another letter. and then we get Fosca to speak of love in front of me. And she gets so distraught, understandably so, I guess. Because he is kind of rubbing in her face. I've got a great
dangling
life.
Carrot, yeah.
Yeah. And then we get this, you hear drum. Oh, sorry. They hear drums, you hear music. So do I. And what is the thing that she asks him? Be my friend. And he goes, yes, of course you can have my friendship. We're not stupid. We know what's going to happen. Again, we go back to Fosca being a hateful person. What did Ruthie say? What's the Ruthie Henschel quote? I've got it here.
What's that famous Ruthie Henschel quote? Did you know that my housemate George, his mum is her best friend is Ruthie Henschel.
No, I didn't know that. Can we
They
sort
went
that out?
they were besties at drama school together. So George frequents like cream teas with Ruthie.
I we need to sort that out. George that I met,
Yeah,
George that I know.
yeah.
We need to sort that out, Will. Something needs to be done here. What if we, I'm telling you, what if we do a Sondheim charity night in that church and invite Miss Henschel?
We could invite her on the night. We could invite her up to sing "I Read."
No, she can sing "Loving You." Oh, she sings "Loving You" beautifully. This is the quote. It's a woman who goes from someone you feel sorry for someone who you want to punch, to someone who you absolutely understand and fall in love with. I think that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something in there. At least she's retrospective about the fact that she is hateable at times. And she also notes that there are only a handful of great roles for older women, and this is one of them. When in actuality, this is a role that I've never seen as being played by an older woman. I mean, like Judy Kuhn played it again with John Doyle, but she already played it when she was 15 years younger, maybe 20 years younger. And like, same with, like Patty played it at Lincoln Center, but was originally conceived for this original. Yeah, sorry. So they
I don't
wanted
think
Patty.
I don't think an older woman. Well, you'd have to make everyone older in that case.
Well, no, it does kind of work, doesn't it? If you make that the thing, that she's older as well. But that's not the thing. The point is that she is that she's wasting away at a young age. There's no like, I mean, in the song, what's the name of the song where he finally gets mad at her and he says,
I wish
I
could forget you.
No, that's the letter. That's great.
Trio.
It's Fosca's bedroom, yeah, billiard room, yeah, flashback, yeah, the mountainside. Here it is. Is this what you call love? And he says to her, I'm sorry that you're ugly. I'm sorry that he never says, I'm sorry that you're old. You know, Fosca, yeah. So we get then he leaves for 3 days, and Fosca's letter after 3 days with the troops. I've missed you so. And he's like, oh no, 3 days away, and she's missed him, and it's like okay. And then that's this when she first grabs his hand at the dinner. It's like, let go of my hand. You're like, oh no. And again, Sundance quite.
Me of Wedding Crashers.
Yes, it's very similar. There's a line when somebody says, "I've received a letter today," and Sondheim on the commentary says, "Well, there must be another song then," which I thought was funny.
Wedding Crashers, the musical. That's a pitch.
We could do well. I'd have to change some things in the modern world. This is another thing. There is a lot of humor here if you want it. Like when he's eating with one hand because Fosca is still firmly grabbing his other hand. Like that is funny. That is Wedding Crashers. Holy shit and jeans. Holy shit and jeans. And then we get this moment again of Fosca throwing herself at Giorgio, and that would be another moment where the audience would laugh. Normally.
Sorry, I'm still talking about Ida Bishop.
All right, go on. What about Ella? Oh, divorced. Yes, she is now divorced.
30 seconds. What's going on there? Is it?
We know what's going on there. Sacha Baron Cohen as Fosca. I'm so alone. He could do it. He could do anything.
He can.
Then we get the happiness trio, which is the only trio in the piece, which is where Fosca is writing the letter, presumably to Clara, which kind of goes nowhere. So we get that. And then we get a scene that is quite funny, where Fosca is talking with George. I'm being quite flippant because all of the scenes kind of bleed into one.
That's all right. That's fine.
And again, she says a rather funny line which Patty really does play well, without ever making it too funny, where she says, "Admit you took your leave to be with my rival," which is funny if you do it, and it shows Fosker has a sense of humor, but Donna Murphy plays it as, deadly serious. Again, different ways to play the character. I personally prefer Patty's. And this is where Fosker starts getting kind of evil, where she's like threatening to talk negatively to her cousin about him not, so he doesn't get leave anymore. And then we get this reveal of she's already married. Did this take you by surprise, Will?
Well, this was where I think Monkey's Paw was going to come in. With the yeah.
And then they have this, discussion. And on the commentary, they talk about how the name Clara means light and that Fosca means dark in Italian. And then Jerry Shea says, and Giorgio means fickle slut. At least that's what my wife calls him.
Oh, great. That's great.
Jerry Shea, a man who came and went. I've not heard really of Jerry Shea beyond the Passion production. I think he's very good. I think he's very good. And then we get another scene, and this is where it was revealed that allegedly Fosker is mortally ill. And the mysterious man, the doctor, comes with one more mysterious thing. You're only to give her words that will make her well. What is the cost of a few words when life hangs in the balance? And again, very much sounds like, running away. And then we go to Fosker's bedroom, and this is where we get I Wish I Could Forget You, which I do want in the song canon, which is such an incredible construction. It's Fosker asking Giorgio for a letter and reciting a letter from Giorgio to Fosker of all the things that she wishes he would say to her. And it's this incredibly painful scene. And it's beautiful. It's great. Did you like that moment? Did you like that song?
It's yeah. It was a nice gesture.
But again, we get Giorgio put there under false pretenses to lie and say that he loves us because he thinks that she's going to die. And it's my heart says it loves you, Fosker. And then she's as a friend. No, tonight it loves you as you wish. Again, because he thinks that she's going to be dead. And he's giving her these words to help her. And then she says, do you have sisters? Do you kiss them goodbye? Occasionally. Then kiss me as you do them. And then she grabs, never as you kiss her. And then they scream. And the London production added an interval at this point. So you literally have Maria Friedman going, kiss me, no! Screaming, cuts black. So you've opened on Michael Ball, doggy style, climaxing, and you end on Maria Friedman screaming. I'd stay for the interval. I'd stay for the second act, obviously. But it was well received, but it's incredibly prickly material and very off-putting.
Yeah.
And then we get the first soldiers gossip scene, which is just very funny.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. No, I think she just fell off her broom. Or they hang a mirror in the room. Very funny. There was one character called Captain Rivolti that always got laughs. They realized later that was because they thought they were calling him Captain Revolting.
That's the opera guy, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. James wanted more. Oh, go on.
I don't know. He seemed like all the opera was improv because he wanted to show off that he could sing opera. I've been cast as this bloody ensemble guard, but I'm a star. I can sing opera.
It's not actually in the show. It's only for the recording. James wanted more comic relief sequences. Steve did not. Interesting.
Yeah, that bit with Lady Henry.
What if around the table they do a parody of The Traitors? Steve said, I wanted it to be a completely relentless show that was audience unfriendly. Lapine considered having characters who the audience would agree with once they realised that people were hating Fosca, which I guess works. And then we get this flashback to Fosca's past. Now, the Count character was added by Lapine and Sondheim to give Fosca a backstory, but that means that she's had sex before. And for me, that doesn't work. She should be a lonely virgin wasting away who's never known love of any kind, intimate or otherwise. That, for my money, anyway. What do you think? I mean, it's a great song.
So, well, it seemed like she was fine and not ill before.
Yeah.
So I got the impression it was like a crippling STD.
Yeah. I think it's badly managed, to be honest. You know, I sensed him in a danger, deception, even violence. I must admit to some degree that it excited me. Interesting. And then we get the arrival of his mistress and find out, he does this all over. And then
and he's green.
How about another lick of my elixir, or whatever the line is. And and yes, we haven't paid the rent since July, just so you know. Very funny. You know, all of us blinded by love, which makes everything seem impossible. Again, works in the moment, does feel on second hand like, is just saying what he thinks. There were conversations about getting rid of the flashback, and he asked John Guare, the wonderful writer of 6 Degrees of Separation, and another writer, and they asked if they should keep it. And at the same time, one of the other writers said yes, and Guare said absolutely not. So they just kept it in. I don't know, John Guare is very talented, wrote one of the best plays ever, but that's one of those, weighing up. Scene 10, and then we get the mountainside, which is where we finally get Giorgio snapping. And it builds, but yes, I wish you would leave me alone. And he finally says, fuck off, leave me alone. James wrote Sondheim wrote the song because he felt a need for him to say fuck off. That was his literal thing. Sondheim, after Fosca's collapse, someone from the back of the house shouted to Giorgio, why don't you just leave her there? Followed by a hearty round of applause. And Lapine once told someone to get the fuck out of the theatre because of the clapping. Lapine described it as the worst preview period he ever had with a show. I mean, and this was after, let's not forget about, what the Sunday in the Darkened Board and all the issues that they had with Sunday in the Park with George. Donna Murphy had women grab her on the street and say how much they hated Fosca. And, it goes without saying, this was not a well-liked. Sondheim and Lapine all say the same thing, which is that once the critics liked it and once it started winning awards, then that sort of stuff stopped, obviously. Jerry Shea actually ended up with a bad back and had to wear a brace due to having to carry Donna Murphy every night.
Hey.
And then we get this bizarre nightmare that uses doubles and masks, which I don't think really works. And then again, we get this. It's almost like a comedy setup. He finally gets away on the train. He's got fever because he carried a woman through the rain, and he gets on the train, and he's driving away, and then suddenly, room for one more. I mean, she doesn't say anything, but she's there. And again, it would get laughs.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when she showed up on the train as well, Will?
Oh, it was not a good one. I was not happy to see it.
Sondheim said, loving you was written during previews to give Giorgio and the audience a moment of empathy with Fosca, a moment to understand her behavior and find her sympathetic. Sondheim said, I didn't want a second chorus. I'm not going to spell it out anymore. There's nothing left to say. And it's an incredibly beautiful song. And it is the power of a musical, isn't it? To just put in the most beautiful song, one of Sondheim's top love songs. We could make the argument for top 20 status. I don't think we're going to, but I think it's something to shake their head again. But it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And Donna said creatively it was the high point of my life. Um, Barbara, Barbara. Oh, Barbara Streisand. Yes, Barbara Streisand covered it. And she said it's one of the most beautiful medleys she's ever heard. Um, I do think from that point on we give a lot more credence to Fosca, but it doesn't matter because he's now learned what love is. So I do like this angle that instead of him falling immediately in love with Fosca, he takes those lessons and goes, "No, I really love Clara." Goes to Clara. Clara says, "No, I can't throw my entire life away to be with you. What are you talking about? I have my child. This is an affair, unfortunately." And then he takes all the wrong lessons from that, and then just another love story happens. Is this is what you call love? And we then blurred with happiness, and it's a beautiful, beautiful duet between the two of them. And this is where we find out that the cousin knows and wants a duel. And
Yep.
How did you go on? What are you?
I was like, yeah, of course he does.
Yeah. Do you think the duel was like?
I think the wrong person died.
Yeah. Isn't this surely a story about how he is succumbed to all manner of passions and loneliness or whatever? He has sex with Fosca. Fosca screams and dies, and then he dies. Or maybe he doesn't even shoot his gun. But that would be the exact ending of Hamilton. Giorgio. Fosca comes on. I see Giorgio dance before me. I see.
Right. Improv rap is not one of your talents.
It's not.
At the end, Fosca wakes up and she looks at the audience and she goes,
I tell everybody about the hospitals we made for you, Giorgio, and you love the hospitals. There it is. Sondheim, when I first started to plan the score, I wanted to open the show with Clara's orgasmic scream and close it with Fosca's. Unfortunately, there was a duel still to contend with. He could have screamed during the duel. Ah! Michael Ball probably did. Keep screaming.
Did you know Michael Ball carries twice the amount of blood in comparison to the average human?
No, I didn't know that one. And how the hell do you know that?
It's an urban, not a myth, but there's a legend.
So that's not true.
It was a plot point in Toast of London.
Ah, yes, right. I do remember this. Yes,
yeah. Michael Ball is Andrew Lloyd Webber's hitman.
Very good show. Yeah. And then we end with this beautiful finale. I think your love will live in me. And we have one final letter from Fosca. He's killed Fosca's cousin in a duel. He's not married. He's not going to get married or be with Clara anymore. And Fosca's dead. So poor Giorgio hasn't been left with much. But he is given a farewell letter. And Fosca stood more upright, free of her afflictions. And Donna said she wasn't defining herself by her illness anymore. Well, no, Donna, but she is dead. And the final letter came from a notion from James that there was more to say. And we get this, I think, rather beautiful finale. And then, again, the tolling of the drums. Da-dum. So Passion ends, Will. And what was your initial sort of reaction?
Strange. Very strange. That was my reaction.
So this was planned for like a week ago, or even actually a week before that. Is this a show that has then stuck with you since? Has the music, stuck with you? No. Did you listen to the music again in preparation?
I did actually. On my drives that I do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good music.
Yeah.
Again, I think we'd play. I'd be a wonderful Fosca Will to your Giorgio. So this actually holds a Tony Award record. Do you know what it is, Will?
Shortest?
Yes, it ran for a total of 280 performances, making it the shortest running musical to ever win Tony Award for Best Musical. So the role of Fosca was originally offered to Patty. However, she was busy. Do you know what she was busy with, Will?
Evita.
Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, Close Night. Oh,
Yes.
was she? Was she? Oh,
Yeah, she was busy.
in
However,
London. In
in
London.
London, in
Yeah.
London, that's it. Yes. Yeah, with one look. In many ways, another show about a kept, like a thwarted love triangle. So Donna Murphy wins the Best Tony Award, and she was actually up against Judy Kuhn for a revival of She Loves Me. And she said, "Thank you for your patience and your humor. Everyone needs a good mole joke." So there's a lot of humor around the set. Steve wins Best Original Score, and it's given to them by Bernadette Peters and Martin Short, which is very nice. And he's just hugged and kissed Bernadette Peters. And then he says, "No composer could ever ask for better singers or better actors ever." Interesting. So the London production then came in 1996, very quick on the heels, really. And it was directed by Jeffrey Sams and starred Maria Friedman as Fosca, who kind of was Sondheim's UK darling. And Jeremy Sams, rather, and I don't know whether it's Jeremy or Jeffrey. I've got both here. Anyway, they have a child together, him and Maria Friedman. Anyway, fully nude Michael Ball, as we've talked about. Michael's first role on stage since Aspects of Love. Maria is sensational, but has bizarrely terrible makeup. Michael Ball on the Titchmarsh show was hilarious, promoting his new album, and he opened with a gospel version of Let the River Run from Working Girl, which is a brilliant thing. He missed the first day of rehearsal, actually, to be on Alan Titchmarsh's show. And he's talking. Alan asks him about, well, when this was on Broadway, it started with naked writhing lovers. And then all the Michael Ball fans in the crowd go, woo! There was a production directed by Jamie Lloyd, who is my new John Doyle, starring David Thaxton, actually, who is now playing Max in Sunset Boulevard. So I didn't know that connection. And Elena Rogers.
Max is the George Hearn role, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes. Then we get the 2013 Off-Broadway revival, where all three leads for My Money were Sublime. John Doyle directed it, and he had all the soldiers play the women in the flashbacks. So he's always doing something. He's always doing something. It was a 9-piece stripped-back orchestration, obviously. Beds and tables were all mimed, obviously. And I think Judy Kuhn plays it with a lot of softness, actually, and a lot more vulnerability. And they didn't really ugly Judy Kuhn up at all, just some light makeup. But with the proximity of the audience, they wouldn't get away with makeup effects, she said. So I believe we've got 3 spots, Will, on the Sondheim ranking list to make it an official 100. So obviously we're putting Loving You in there.
Yeah.
And then we want I Wish I Could Forget You.
Yeah.
And what's the third one we want?
Is This What You Call Love?
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Is This What You Call Love? Is This What You Call Love? Right, so I'll slot in the other 2, sort of, around around the 60 to 100 mark. Where do we want Loving You? That's the question.
Oh, let's get this. I've not got access to this. I've got new laptop, so it's not on my favorites anymore.
I'm going to send it to you, Will, on messenger.com. There, sent to you. Because I do want it, Will, in the top 30, maybe, I think.
Well, let's start at 30 then. What's at 30?
Somewhere, A Boy Like That. Today, Quintet.
Is it better than them?
I think it's better than That Frank.
Yeah.
I think 26.
26.
Yeah, it's getting locked in. And I'll slot the other two in lower down the list, which does complete, Will, our 100 Songs of Sondheim canon, which will do a official final top 100 ranking in our final episode. A few lyrics. Loving you is not a choice; it's who I am. We were both unhappy. Unhappiness can be seductive. If this letter seems cold-hearted, it conceals my own stress. Nonetheless, forgive me, my dear, but though you are no beauty, I fear you are not quite the victim you appear. From Count Ludovic, a lot more incisive, perhaps, than you'd think. I'm throwing you wildly unprepared here, Will, with only 2 minutes left. But we've done, but if we're excluding Gypsy and we're excluding Do I Hear a Waltz and we're excluding West Side Story, we've done A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. We've done Anyone Can Whistle. We've done Company. We've done Follies, A Little Night Music, Pacific Overtures, Sweeney Todd, Merrily We Roll Along, Into the Woods, Sunday in the Park with George, Assassins, and Passion. My number one is Follies. Your number one is Sweeney.
Yep.
Then my number two is Sweeney. Your number two then is Into the Woods.
Yep.
My number three then is Company.
Yeah, I'd probably say we have a Company at 3 each.
Yeah. And then four, I guess Into the Woods or Sunday, or the question is Passion your lowest show?
No, Anyone Can Whistle is my lowest.
You really hated Anyone Can Whistle, didn't you?
Yeah. I really like Pacific Overtures.
A great show.
That might be my number 4.
It's not your number 4. Over A Little Night Music and Follies, Will. You've not even said Sunday yet.
I've not.
On purpose.
I like Act 1.
Well, you can take Assassins as well. We'll be back for our final Sondheim episode, Will, which will either be a 1-parter or a 2-parter, which is Celebrations of Sondheim. And it might be released as a 2-parter, though. And Celebrations of Sondheim and the final ranking of the 100 list. Very, very exciting stuff. Okay, well, a Sondheim farewell.
A Sondheim farewell. I would. What's a goodbye?
The favourite one. So long, farewell, I'll be to say goodbye. Goodbye for now, he wrote for the movie Reds.
How long have we got?
Ba 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 ba.